Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as a strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
I've been joined by Dr. Francis Okumagba, who is a mentor, a business strategist and a wealth coach positioning and collaborating with people and organizations to succeed in what they do. He's here to share insights on not just the realities we're dealing with, but how we can get our game going, how we can become more creative in the face of all the headwinds that we grapple with as a country and of course as a people, whether you're a small business operator or you're someone with a promising business idea who has you probably are bereft of how to get it off the ground and get it on the road, concerns around the startup capital, how to put the systems and the structures in place, and how you can navigate your way through these changing times. Thank you, Dr. Okumagba, for coming on the program. We appreciate it. Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Great. You know, incidentally, when people look at the inflation figures, they look at projections from multilateral institutions, the World Banks of this world, the IMFs, and so on and so forth. They don't find these reports very inspiring. So what are we telling young people who are creative in tech, different other ecosystems, for example, and they are making their own contribution every day? How do they deal with these challenges and still end up creating wealth?
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to change the dynamics in the environment when it comes to information that is available out there. A lot of these are young people are traumatized in the sense that they have a lot of issues with their upbringing and challenges, and they've created a lot of walls around their mindset. And our political leaders have not helped matters because from the political scene, we're also having a lot of information that makes them feel that you don't need to do anything to make money. Because the political leaders we have today, a lot of them make money and you don't see what they do. So a lot of our young people are tweeted towards looking at how they can make money overnight doing nothing. But if we can do something to reorientate the mindset of our people, we will see the benefits of actually taking advantage of what we have in our Nigeria environment. Nigeria continues to be the investment bride of the world. Our mineral resources is awesome. Climatic condition is very good. We have a market size that is very large, one of the largest in Africa. And we also have energetic and very enthusiastic human beings.
Right.
But the problem we have is that there's a distortion in the way we do things. And if we can reorientate the mindset of our people, we'll do a lot. If you throw a Nigerian in China where he does not understand the language and the climatic condition is very bad, they do very well, they excel.
So what's our problem back here?
Our problem is the information that we have in our environment, the type of leadership we have evolved, and the fact that ease of doing business is very difficult.
We thought that improved, especially when we saw what former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was doing, for example, under the leadership of former President Muhammadu Buhari. At that time, we understand the systems had improved. Did we renege? Did we relapse? What happened?
You see, what Yemi did was very good. The initiative was good, but implementation was very poor. It didn't really reach out to the larger population of people, and there was no multiplier effect in what was created. You can't be solving problem for 200 and something thousand people in a country where you have 200 and something million people. And if it was done, if it was institutionalized in our systems, in our education system, in our banking system, then you can have some impact on it. For example, you don't want to work in an environment where there's no credit. Monies are mopped out for the system and put in TSA. So banks are not lending in the system. If you live in any civilized environment, you can even lend money to go to school. You can borrow money to do so many things. You can do a lot of mortgage. You can actually own a house.
So the student loan idea is a welcome initiative.
Implementation is what we are waiting for. It's a good one, but implementation is very key. Now, what I want to draw your attention to is not all these issues that we have and all the narratives that we have in our environment we probably are getting a lot of things wrong. Our education system is still the colonial origination that we have, trying to get degrees that we don't use. They turn out graduates who are not able to implement what they read in schools. We have situations where the morals and the role models that they've created in our environment today continue to give the impression that you don't need to work to make money. So the creativity that we have in Nigeria is almost lost. But I reassure you that there's a lot of opportunities. Inflation rate today is about 26% as we gathered.
27.3.
About 27.3.
Right.
And the narrative out there is that things are hard. Nothing is happening. In the political system, there's uncertainty. There's a lot of things that are happening. But nobody is telling the good story.
What's the good story?
The good story is that Nigeria is the investment pride of the world. We have the mineral resources. We have enormous market size, but we are not exploiting the opportunity that we have in our raw materials because they are not being processed in our system. Today, you can do anything you want to do with little or nothing. Because whatever you want to do, if you look at our system today, there are a lot of people that are unemployed. You know, unemployment is also something you can turn around and start making money with employment. For example, I have a lot of young people today who have excuses of, oh, I don't have a godfather, I don't have capital to start business, I've graduated for about 5 years, but nothing is happening. But can I give you an example of how you can actually use unemployment to start creating employment? For example, do you know if you put a notice out there today that you want to employ somebody, you have too many people that will come for employment. But everybody is looking at being employed. But if you turn the table around and start reorientating the mindset of our people and to let them know that you can actually employ people and make money, then we can actually take over 20 to 30% of people you have on the street today to start actually employing people to make money. Can I show you how you can make 1 million just employing somebody? If you open out and give a notice out there, you want to employ an IT expert who can actually expose businesses online, and you want to pay that graduate 200 to 300,000 naira a month, you will get that individual employed and turn around and announce to young people that if you know you want to put your goods out there to reach out to 5,000 to 10,000 people, just pay 50,000 naira a month, you will get those products out there. You don't even need to have the product to start selling. All you need in today's Nigeria is a phone. Take the picture of items you know that somebody is selling and agree to sell for about 2 or 3 or 5 people. You have made money. Now for the employment, that individual you put there as an IT expert is there earning 300,000, exposed to about 5,000 to 10,000 people that they can actually put their goods out there, and the 5,000 to 10,000 will get it to buy. They pay 50,000 each. If you advertise that today online to over 10,000 people, if only 100 subscribe to it and they pay 50,000 naira each, you have made 5 million naira. The person that will do the job, you pay the person 200,000 to 300,000. What have you done? You have just engaged the service of an expert, and you have advertised it to the social media to about 5 to 10,000 people, and you make money. Now translate it to actually multiplying that and making more people know about it. It means that for anybody you know today that has somebody that is selling something out there, the person can make in excess of 1 million naira working from home with his phone. Go to Zuba, where they sell yam. They bring yam into Abuja.
Right.
They sell a tuber of yam in Zuba for 1,000 naira. When it gets to Wuse market, it becomes 2,000 naira. All a young graduate needs to do is go to Zuba and take the picture of heaps of yam, 100, 50, 20, 10, and put it on his phone. And actually get an IT person to throw that out to 5,000 to 10,000 people and put there that he sells his own tuber of yam for 1,500. Let 10,000 people see that young man will make 1 million naira. He's not the owner of the yam. He's not the one that's going to put it out there. But what he has done is to actually take advantage of people who are still blindfolded with the narratives that are out there that you need capital to start business. You need a godfather to help you. You need government to support you. That person just needs to be in between two people and is making money. Look at the number of unemployed people today you have out there. You can see the multiplier effect it will give if we start reorientating the mindset of our people that, look, you don't need to have a job. Create job by employing somebody that is talented and offer that job, because that person does not know that he needs to expose that business online with a phone. Do you know how people are still going to the market and looking for money, capital to open a shop? You don't need that anymore in this generation. You can actually open 5 shops with your phone. So the narrative out there that I want to put out there today is that Nigeria has all it takes to change the narrative and start seeing development in our growth. I have so many things to open up to you guys on what we can do to actually retweak our environment and start seeing productivity.
I want us to talk about education because you brilliantly mentioned that a while ago. Now, the world is focusing on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. In Nigeria, we're still teaching philosophy, we're still talking about premise, and so on and so forth. We're still teaching courses that we cannot directly, practically tie to realities. What is the role of government in all this? Because government must create that enabling environment, must drive the infrastructure. I mean, we're still having conversations as to whether or not tertiary institutions should remit 40% of their IGR to the federal government.
You see, we need to change the narrative on education. The curriculum we are still running is the same curriculum that was left for us over 60 years ago by the colonial masters. We are still going to school and regurgitating what we learn without impacting on understanding what.
So all of the 2-1 and the first class don't make any difference?
Look at the number of graduates that are coming out today. Invite them for interview to see how you can actually engage them to do business, do work with you. They are not able to translate what they read. You see somebody that is reading history, philosophy. If you look at the look at the university today, look at the number of graduates that are coming out. How will you have trust in a system that cannot produce and do researches that can impact on the environment? Do you know the workforce we are getting out from the university today cannot meet the demand, the current demand that we have in society? A lawyer comes and look at the number of lawyers that they graduated out only this year. How many of them can actually do business today using their IT? How many of them can actually come out and create systems where we can have agreements done in such a way that you can automate it? They don't have entrepreneurship skills. They don't have ICT skills, but they are graduates. And in today's world, you can't operate without having those basic IT skills. So how do we actually have a system that is producing graduates that is not actually complying with the new world? Look at India and China. Look at what they did to the education system. Look at how they turned around going to school to providing more education with technology. So we need to do something about education system to tweak our curriculum to meet with the demands that we have today for labor.
Incidentally, now that you also talked about India, countries in Asia, especially India and China, have a practice where they send their young people to some of the Ivy League universities in the US, and they come back to replicate the knowledge and then, to use your word, change the narrative for the better. But what we have over here, on the contrary, is Japa. So you go and you don't come back. In fact, you go and you move all the people who are dear to you to come join you over there. Is government trying to look away from the reality, or is it supposed to be Nigerians now taking their destinies in their hands to say, look, I'm patriotic enough to go acquire this knowledge at whatever cost and come back here to change the lives of my community?
You see, governance is very key in this. If you go outside, anywhere you go outside this world today, if you are going for medicine or anything, you see Nigerians there. They are the ones topping the institutions that you have over there. And if you look at what we are doing today, a lot of our nurses are going to UK, Canada, and US to do menial jobs. They are actually doing care jobs, taking care of old people and people that are not have issues. We have a problem with our system. If you graduate from the university today and you want to actually start your own life, you need to create your own local government. You need to rent a house that you have to pay for 1 year or 2 years. You need to also have a system where you have to create a small system in your city, because you don't have light, you don't have water, you don't have so many things, that basic things that you need to have to actually live a good life. So how do you want, and if you want to extend it, you want to actually save to get married, you save forever to be able to get monies that can actually enable you to get married. So why would somebody who is a graduate want to stay in a system where it's truncated? Look at our legal system. Look at our school system. The professors, how much do they pay them? So how do you want someone to graduate and come out and he cannot fend for himself? My daughter is in Canada today, graduated only 2 years ago. Immediately he graduated, he was able to start working immediately, rented the house immediately, and he's fending for himself. You can't say that about our Nigerian graduates. There's a problem with our system. Why should we be paying rent yearly in Nigeria? All over the world, people pay rent monthly. They pay salaries monthly in Nigeria. We are paying rent yearly. how will these people actually get the money to actually fend for themselves? So if you look at our system today, in civilized environment, when you are 18, you are able to actually leave your parents and start staying on your own.
Independent.
Yes, independent. In Nigeria, even at 30 and 40, people are still with their parents because they can't fend for themselves. Look at the rate of marriages. It's so low. In our time, our father's time, the marriage age was between 15 and 25. Today, the marriage age is between 25 and 50, and people are not getting married because they can't afford it. So if you look at our system, there are a lot of anomalies in the system that we need to look at again and retweak to have a system that can accommodate a going concern. People cannot lend money from banks to start business. People cannot go to school if they have parents that don't have money. And the civil service, for instance, that the largest employer of labor, look at the total earnings that they have as salary.
Some persons argue that oil, crude oil, which is our black gold, has become a distraction for us. Do you share that sentiment?
I don't agree, because if you look at the system that we have today, crude oil very soon will be obsolete. People will not be looking at crude oil. People are looking at electrical cars already, and a lot of things are happening. And even the crude oil that we have, we're not able to process it into fuel. That's why we have the crisis that we have today. And the crisis, the inflation rate that is increasing today, part of it has to do with the increase in the cost of doing business, transport and power. That's the major cost that we have for businesses.
President Bola Tinubu, I know we need to insulate this conversation from politics, but we need policies to drive all of these brilliant ideas that you're churning out. Has been traveling for quite a while. I mean, right from when he got into office, and his aides say the idea is for him to be able to attract foreign direct investments. How much do we need to rely on FDI to drive our economy and give young people the opportunities that they so deserve?
You see, if government have the right policies, there will be a turnaround. For instance, currently the exchange rate for dollar is over 1,000 naira to a dollar. So people will be attracted to actually looking at the export market rather than depending on importing things. And if you can change that balance in trade, you will see that the exchange rate will drop drastically. Currently, as I speak to you, there are a lot of diaspora Nigerians who are actually repatriating money now more effectively than ever before. You can see that when they repatriate their monies now, they get more value for it. Many of them are beginning to build houses, they are setting up businesses, and very soon you start seeing the interest in people going into exporting things rather than importing. I have a lot of traders who I actually consult for, who are telling me now that they have seen that actually getting goods overseas to come and sell in Nigeria now is not as profitable as it used to be. And they are looking at how they can convert their interest into supplying raw materials overseas to be able to attract
exports.
So once we can jig up that system where people go into, oh, we need to make more money by exporting our raw materials, then more people will go into the agriculture to start seeing how they can actually make our product more packageable for export. And once they do that, we'll start earning money and to change the balance of trade that we have now that is negative.
The position of many people for many years, I mean, I grew up to make the argument is that government has no business in business. Therefore, what is the role of the private sector, the organized private sector in all of this?
You see, government has a role indirectly in business because government is the one that creates the enabling environment to enable us to have ease of doing business. One of the greatest challenges we have in Nigeria today is that there's no liquidity. There's no money. You put your monies in the bank, the monies are actually warehoused in CBN. Ordinarily, if you want the system to work, there must be liquidity in the system. People should be able to put money in the bank who have surpluses, and those who have ideas should be able to take money from the system to create value. But today, government is the only one that gets the credit and the credit that they want to actually run government. But if government creates the right enabling environment, businesses will key up themselves. Yes, government is not supposed to be interested in business. That is day-to-day business. Because if you create the right enabling environment, the businesses will generate income that will give you tax at the end of the day. So there's a circle that we are supposed to create around the movement of money in our system. Currently, it's stagnated. The monies are warehoused in CBN. it's not flowing within the bank. If you go to the bank today, you want to lend, no matter what you want to get from the bank today, it takes you forever. And at the end of the day, they come back and they don't get those money. So there's no liquidity in the system.
I've spoken to experts like yourself since 2014, and they say America is an economy that is credit dependent. And they talk about it from the standpoint that it could be a problem. Should we have a credit-driven system? Because while he was the candidate of the APC, President Tinubu had talked about how that if he became president, he would make Nigeria such that credit will run like water. I'm just paraphrasing. How do we make sense of that so that while we're trying to solve one problem, we don't create four problems in addition?
You can't run a country without credit. In fact, the more credit you have in the system, having banks lend to people who actually have need to
beyond the real sector. Beyond the real sector.
Yes. If you look at our system today, look at mortgages. I want to liken it to somebody who came into Nigeria years ago and saw that the Northerners were not wearing shoes, or they were not wearing shoes in Nigeria, and he went back to give a report. They actually sent him to come and do a research in Nigeria. He went back to tell them that there's no point establishing a factory for shoes because the people don't wear shoes. Someone else came some later years to do the same research and came back and saw that they were not wearing shoes and reported back that they are not wearing shoes. But if we put a shoe factory, you have it will be a monopoly. And he established the shoe factory and he actually got a monopoly. Today, Nigeria is the investment bride of the world. We have the market size, but a lot of people are not taking advantage of the market size. Let me give you one thing that we need to understand about the dynamics of doing business. In Nigeria today, the talented are on the street looking for who will use them. The rich are not using their monies. They keep the monies idle. Some of them put the money in banks and they never go to pick those monies. If you go to the bank and do a statistics, 50% of the monies you have in the bank are dead people's money who don't come back to collect it. Nigerians who have super monies are digging the monies in Sockaway pits. How will it circulate? Then those who are super rich, they do investment abroad that nobody gets to know the source and who or the name they use to invest in those monies. And when they die, those monies die. It means that people who have money are not using the money. The talented people are not using their talent. They're on the street looking for who will use them. And those who are in power don't have time. All we need to do is to create the enabling environment and the right orientation to get people to understand the power of collaboration. Because if you don't collaborate, you can't make success out of anything. Because what I have, you don't have. And what you have, I don't have. The only way you can get people to start working together is to create the right public impression about what you have in the environment. But look at the things that are dividing us today. Religion, tribalism, and all sorts. So the synergy of actually having people come together to do things together, to create value, is actually affected. So what we'll expect government to do is to create the enabling environment and to create structures and institutions that are respected. You are going and making campaigns of how you can attract foreign
direct investment.
Meanwhile, there's a lot of uncertainty in your environment. People don't know how they can repatriate their monies back when they make the monies. And nobody knows what the legal system is doing. The legal system is showing out cases that are giving people conflicting judgment that makes them feel that there's a lot of uncertainty and there are a lot of fears about doing business in Nigeria. So how will those people attract those monies into Nigeria? The right thing to do is to look at Nigeria and see how we can create the right public impression about what the country is and begin to see how we can harness the resources we have and our human resources. Once we do that, you'll see a change in the exchange that we are facing now, because the imbalance we have in supply and demand of goods is what is creating what we have today now. And if you reorientate people right and they go to the base of production, you will see what will happen to the economy. The dollar rate that is going up now will crash. Because if you change the taste of Nigeria alone, you can actually have that. But if you want to do that, you have to do it from the top to create the right disposition for people to see. You can't say that things are hard and your legislators are buying cars that are mongers in pricing and all that.
And living flamboyantly.
So you cannot be doing that and expect the young people who look up to them as role models to have the feeling that the country, there are things that are tight and we have to go to the drawing board and start seeing how we can reorganize ourselves and do things better.
Incidentally, I mean, maybe this is on a sad note. The GDP of California alone is higher than, I mean, bigger than that of Nigeria. We say all thanks to Silicon Valley, the tech ecosystem. People have said Nigeria would have to look away from oil for a second and look at things like agriculture and tech. Do you think that's the way to go?
Of course. To a great extent, yes. But insecurity is what is even is worsening our situation, because the farmers are not farming anymore. If you go to the middle belt, that is the food basket of the country, the insecurity situation has actually reduced. That's why the supply of food in the market is part of what is causing the inflation rising. Because if you don't have enough supply in the food basket, you have a situation where the prices will be going up. And that's part of what is affecting what we are doing now. And if we are still import dependent and we don't do something about our taste, we'll continue to use our own money to continue to attract foreign goods that further worsen the naira situation. But that can be turned around if the leaders can change their disposition and what they show to the public.
I mean, I think somebody once said that there's nothing you want to do today that somebody probably has not done in the past. All you have to do is borrow their model, maybe tweak it a little to suit your peculiar situation. Look at the Asian tigers, for instance, Singapore, Vietnam, Taiwan, and the likes, how they've changed their own fortunes in the last couple of decades. Are there lessons Nigeria should be learning from those countries?
Do you know what? We have everything we need in Nigeria to succeed. Do you know you can build an estate without 1 naira in your pocket? In a system that is working.
Is our system working? That's the question.
In a system that is working. The man who has land doesn't have money to develop it, but he has land, he inherited. I do. The man who has money doesn't have ideas. He keeps the money in the bank. I do. The man who is a contractor who wants to build an estate is looking for contracts. If you give him the contract, he will do the contract. There is nobody harnessing these three people together. If we can create the right structure, I can come in and tell the landowner and tell him, I'm going to build an estate on your land, and I will give you 10% of the houses. And 10% of the houses, when sold, will be 4 times the value of your land. Sign this document. If there's a legal system that people respect, they will sign an agreement, and that land becomes available for development. There is somebody that has money in the bank. The money in the bank is idle. The rate that the bank gives that individual that has money in the bank is 5%. Go to that individual, because the banks are not doing it. You turn around and use the owners of the money to create value. Tell the individual that put money in the bank at 5% that you're going to give him 20%. But you will not touch the money. That you just need the money to create security that can give you a bank guarantee. Go to the construction company and say, I'm giving you a contract to build an estate, but start with 40% of the estate. And whatever when you finish, the money to pay you is already in the bank. Take a bank instrument called bank guarantee from that cash collateralized money, give it to the construction company, they will move to site. As you start building the houses in the site, begin to sell those houses, the first 20% at half the price. And tell the people buying, put your money in the bank. If you don't get your keys, let the bank not release the money to me.
So escrow system?
Yes, and they start building the houses. When you finish building the first 40% of the houses, you give keys to the people that have bought with their monies in the bank and use the money to pay the contractor. And tell the contractor, go on and do the next 30%. And as he's doing the next 30%, you go back to sell another 20% at a higher price and put the money in the bank. The money will be waiting to pay the contractor when you finish the next 30%.
Face by face.
So when you finish, you give the keys, you get money and pay him to do the remaining. By the time you finish the first 3 phases, the estate is complete. I did not use 1 naira to build that estate. The remaining 40%, sell 10% of the estate and give the money as interest to the guy who put 1 billion naira in the bank. 30% of the houses that are left, give 10 to the owner of the land and take 20. How much did I use to build this estate? Nigeria has everything. We have people who have land, we have people who have money, we have people who are contractors. But there's nobody that is coordinating them. So we have a system left of ideas. And all we need to do is to get government, to get people who have the know-how to create the enabling environment and do the reorientation in the mindsets of our people. Because Nigeria today, I tell you, we have damaged mindsets. When I say damaged mindsets, a man is a product of his upbringing, environment, and the system. When you grow up in an environment where you are indoctrinated with You can't do anything if you don't have a godfather. You can't do anything if you don't have capital. You don't do anything if you don't go to school. All those are lies that have been ingrained in their mindset. So today, what they have in their mindset has created walls around them that make it impossible for them to express themselves. They don't teach it in schools. So what I'm doing today, for instance, is mentoring and counseling. I do business consulting. Get any Nigerian who is jobless, who is poorly paid, who is struggling with the business they are doing. Get them in front of me. They will start doing business immediately.
I want to talk to you about something else. There's the fear now that the world, and indeed Africans, are looking towards East Africa, in this case, in particular, Rwanda. Of course, we have seen in the last couple of years how conferences are moved from Lagos and Abuja to Kigali. In Rwanda, is Nigeria losing grips?
Well, Nigeria is losing a lot because we have the market. We have the mineral resources. We have enormous and wonderful climatic condition. The problem we have is leadership. If we get our leadership right and we put our rights first 11 in the right square pegs, we will be able to change the narrative in Nigeria. Nigeria has everything. That's why a lot of people come to this country. That's why the Chinese government, they are beginning to take advantage of our mineral resources. They are coming in, they are borrowing money over their system to use the money to take position in Nigeria. You don't need money to start most businesses. I can make a landlord in Wuse 2 without 1 naira in your pocket. Do you know today, you can go to Wuse 2, there are a lot of vacant houses built wrongly by people who do not know what investment is. I have somebody that has a house, for instance. He has about 14 rooms in the house. His rent in Wuse 2 is 10 million naira a year. If you go to that landlord and tell him you pay him 15 million naira, but you should allow you use the place as office complex, turn around and advertise those 14 rooms to be rented for 2 million naira, you will get 28 million naira. Give the landlord 15 million naira, you have made 30 million naira. What did you do to get that? And somebody is telling me there's nothing to do in Nigeria? Do you know you can sell anything today in Nigeria and you make in excess of 1 million naira? Anything. All you need to do is to know that the dynamics have changed from opening a shop where you rent the shop, stock the shop, get someone to sell in the shop, get a generator. When you put all those overheads in your business, you don't make money. But that same product can be, you can take the picture of that product, get a website, and throw it out to over 10,000 people. And you make money. So a graduate today can actually open a shop on his phone, and people are sitting at home that they are jobless. The Igbo man does not need money to start a business. They come into a town and they go to the market. When they get to the market, they will come to you and tell you, I know where you can buy it cheaper. They will take you to somebody that is an importer. They will sell and be making commission. By the time they sell for 6 months to 12 months, they have enough money to rent a shop. When they rent the shop, they just open the shop and they become agents to people who have goods imported. So they take sample of those goods and put in their shop. And when you come to say you want to buy, you tell them you want to buy 10 items. They say, wait, let me go to parking shop. The parking shop is the real shop. So all they need to make money to start a business today is to go and do agency in 6 to 12 months, and they rent a place and they stock the shop and they start selling and make money. And they replicate it like that in different markets. So money continue to flow in the streets of Nigeria. What this government needs to do is to reorientate the mindset of our people. I dare any government agency, with any government, in any state, we can reduce unemployment, poverty, and insecurity in that state by over 30% with the right reorientation in the mindset of their people. Because they can start businesses without 1 naira in their pocket. They can use employment to create value in people and make money.
Beyond the civil service.
If I'm exposed to civil servant, 60% of them will resign because they are wasting their lives. There are any monies that cannot take them home. You can imagine somebody walked into my office that, I hear you teach people how to succeed in what they do. I say, yes. He said, my salary is 30,000. I'm not surviving. I'm not doing anything. I asked him, divide that 30,000 you earn every month by 30 days. So I will know how much you spend on transport to and fro to where you work. He pays 600 naira to transport himself to and fro. I said, what do you eat during the break time every day? He said, 500 naira. How much do you spend on the average on airtime? He said, 200 naira. By the time we finish calculating the basic things that he just mentioned, it was already negative 300. That is what the civil servants are going through. Meanwhile, they have the resources. They have the know-how. If we can erase corruption from our system, nobody will work for the civil service. You will reduce the number of civil servants. In fact, we have made our enormous resources redundant in Nigeria with the type of employment we give. You employ people who don't do anything, don't earn enough, and they waste their youth.
Let's talk about education again as we wrap up now. What do we do to make our young people, in particular, I'm saying young people now because they, for the most part, they are still impressionable, they are still amenable, so it's easier to help them to get on a new path, the right path, that is. So what do we do to make them see education from a radically different perspective?
Our university system needs to be retweaked. We need to change our curriculum, like yesterday. Entrepreneurship and ICT should be a base subject that everybody must go through.
From elementary?
From elementary. They should know what entrepreneurship is. If we can change that and we create systems that can do reorientation of the mindset of our people, and we support get government to support the ease of doing business, Nigeria will be something else. Most of the people that are out there now suffering, doing care jobs, they will come back to this country to live in this country. But that will happen when you have taken care of power, you have taken care of the issue of insecurity in our system, and insecurity can actually be phased out because it's politically inclined. It is actually wired by the politicians. So if we can actually address insecurity with the level of corruption that we have and solve the problem of ease of doing business, then the reorientation of the mindset of our people will create value for Nigerians, because we have everything in Nigeria. I keep saying it. Nigeria is the investment bride of the world. Our climatic condition is fantastic. We have mineral resources that you don't have anywhere in the world. And the market size that we have in Nigeria, which is the largest country in Africa. Africa is the second largest continent in the world. So we have markets. What we don't have is leadership that can take us through creating the enabling environment for us to do better. We have all it takes to succeed.
Let's talk about the challenge around what we now see as being not just the civil service, but the idea that government needs to create jobs for people. So somebody becomes a governor, so you find a way to maybe warm yourself into their heart so they can get you an appointment. We've seen that destroy the system. We've seen that destroy the ability of people, inhibits them in such a way that they can't think creatively. That has become a problem for the most part. But let's talk about how this again becomes a concern, because in the end, the impression we've created in Nigeria over time is that money is in politics. So every young person wants to jump into politics. So how do we think in a way that politics becomes a means to serve while we're pursuing social entrepreneurship?
Take out the excesses in earnings in the political sector.
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom. Take out the excesses. They are overpaid. If you take out the excesses, the real people who want to serve, who want to give back to society, will be attracted to that system. The system is not just in political class. If you go to the universities, it's worse. Our professors are professors who don't do research. And if you look at the system, it's permeating into the system because graduates are shutting out are graduates who cannot express themselves. So the system needs a reorganization that will retweak our system to create value in our system. Everything we need to succeed is in Nigeria.
On a final note, you're seeing several social investment programs in this country. Empower these, empower that. We see people who are engaged in different aspects. So, human endeavor, education, health, carpentry, skills, vocation, and so on and so forth. Have those efforts actually paid off?
Those efforts, the initiative is right, implementation wrong. The implementation, not up to 20% of what is actually budgeted for those initiatives are used in the right direction. Give only 10% of what you have given in all those social investment and create a campaign to reorientate the mindset of people. You take a lot of people out of the unemployment market. I just dared you. Dare me with any state. We can reduce unemployment, poverty, and crime by over 20%. Just creating the orientation in an environment where you can actually enlighten people on knowing that you can actually use any tree today that is a fruit to do tea.
Any tree?
Any tree. Guava, mango, dogoyaro, all those things are juices that you can actually get out as tea. And somebody can actually make millions selling tea of dogoyaro. But we are still importing those teas from China, India, and all those other places. And our own teas are more effective. Today, as I speak to you, you can sell grass and make 1 million naira a month. You can sell sugarcane and make 1 million naira a month. With a capital of 20,000. In some instances, I dare anybody that is jobless today, that is poorly paid today, or struggling with the business they are doing, let them look for me. I will open their eyes to how they can succeed with what they do or choose to do.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Dr. Francis Okumagba, for coming to share these very profound points with us on the program today, away from politics. We do appreciate that, because we understand that young people, more than ever before, increasingly need these sort of insights to help them change their narrative for the better, because we're at the point now, more than ever before in Nigeria, where people have to take their own destinies in their hands, so to say. Again, we say we are grateful for the time.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's our program, everyone, for you today. We are grateful for the time you spent with us. I'm Uyag Mofe. We'll see you again.